Hello and welcome to this tutorial video to help you complete the Word 1 formatting assignment. And as we will probably discuss in class, this is the most important feature of Word, because there's many places where we can write, text, but Word is where we can format it correctly and professionally. So this is what this assignment is all about. So instructions. Let me actually take this out of the list because it's not a number. So number 1, from this module, download and open the file called Word 1 Formatting Start. I already did that. It's already open. Make sure that you're using as we discussed, the installed desktop version of Word, because it has all the features we need. And if you see a button for Enable Editing, which usually shows up for Windows, it will show up. Let me open the Start file. It'll show up like as a yellow strip around here, and you click Enable Editing, but from this point on it's going to look pretty much the same for Mac and Windows. Where there are differences, I will point them out. So going back to the instructions, once you open the Start file, very important to do a Save As in order to change its name, and just add your last name before Word 1 formatting. So I'm going to pretend that my name is, Smith. Now, Windows users, as we discussed, File tab is going to be to the left of Home. Mac users, there's going to be a File menu at the top. If it's hidden, you'll have to touch the top of the screen with your mouse, then it appears. From this point on, File, Save As. The dialog, as we discussed in class before, same as in PowerPoint, will be a little different for Mac or Windows. Just make sure you're not saving to an online location, but to, let's say, a local location, such as your Documents folder. And I'm going to add my fictitious. You add your real one, of course, Word 1 formatting, and I don't need the word Start anymore. Now, as we discussed before, some computers are going to reveal the file extension, and on some they're not. It's not going to make any difference as long as the file format is the correct one, Word. And save, and I know that I saved it under the correct name to the correct place because I can see it here. Then, the first thing we're going to do is change the theme. Just like in PowerPoint or anywhere else in Office, a theme is a package deal of colors and fonts and so on. And the theme I want you to change to is called Facet. And then let's do those 2 steps together. Let's change the theme color to orange red. So themes can be found. Let's go to the right document. Themes can be found under the Design tab. And here is a whole gallery of themes. And Facet is this one, and right now we're not using any colors, so no colors have changed, but I can definitely see some fonts have changed. Then under colors, I'm going to use the one called, what was it, orange red? Yep. Colors, there's no need to select anything because it does it to the whole document. And again, there's no visible change so far because no colors have been used, but if and when we use colors, they will be from that collection. And of course, for every worthwhile change I'm making, I'm going to save. This is not what I was looking at. Back to the instructions. So we just did steps number 4 and 5, and then one more change of the theme is to change the theme font. So it's not really a font, it's a font collection to a collection called Calibri Light, Calibri. So it's done exactly at the same place in the Design tab, only this time not colors but fonts. Notice that here it is, Calibri Light, Calibri. It's like basically 2 fonts, one that's going to be used for normal text and the other one for headings. And it changes it. Again, save. Back to the instructions. It shows you, where to get that. Then in the Layouts tab, we're going to go to Margins and pick the preset called Narrow, which is basically half an inch all around. Layout, Margins, Narrow. Save. As we will discuss in class, there's no one right set of margins. It's for whatever format you're working for. It depends on your company, on your industry, if it's academic, if it's industrial. The important thing is that whatever the standard is, that you know where to go to change it. The next instruction is to select the line that says Web Development 3 and 4, Descriptions and Proposed LO, and in the Home tab, in the Styles gallery, we're going to designate it as title. Now, let's look at the document the way it is. I think you would agree with me that it looks not very readable, not very hospitable, and definitely not ready for search engines and AI agents to read it, because basically, even though there's some text that looks like heading, it's not headings. It's one big paragraph. So it has no structure. We begin to give this document structure by selecting one line, and not just making it, under Home, I can make it like, big and bold and red and so on, but that would not change it from being a paragraph. It'll just be a big, bold, red paragraph. To just change its meaning, its structure, we're going to go to the Style gallery, open it up. On Mac, we open up galleries as we discussed on the bottom center, and on Windows, it's going to be on the bottom right. But in any case, I find the title. It makes it a title. Now, you may say, oh, but I never wanted it to be that big or that, that font or whatever. We can change that, but the important thing is that we mark it with something almost like a hashtag title. So any agent like Google or AI that's searching it will know, oh, this is a document that deals with web development, and so on. By the way, this is a real document that, came up in one of the committees that I was a member of. So it's a realistic example. Next. The next instruction, we made it a title. While still selected, we're going to change the line's font to 18, make it bold, set text color to orange. 18, bold, orange. Select it, Home tab, size 18, bold, and where it says orange, it could be any orange we want. I'm going to use this orange right now. It also looks like it has some kind of no, it doesn't have a background. Next, designate as title, color orange, bold, 18. While still selected, this line, we're going to add a text effect to it under text effect, shadow, outer, and out of all the different kinds of shadows, there's one called offset bottom right, and it shows you exactly where to get to it from the Home tab, from this little blue neon looking A, shadow, and outer. Again, while it's selected, this one, shadow, outer, save. Now, everything we just did to this title, it's still a title. When I click here, it's normal. When I click on the title, it shows, if I open the Styles pane, it shows me this is a title. You made a few, cosmetic changes to it, but it's designated, its meaning is a title. And that's what's important in format. Not the way it looks, but its role in the structure. We just did that. We're going to select, now that we have a title, we're going to start defining headings. A heading 1 is basically like the heading of a main section. And this document has two main sections. The section that says send, whatever number, Web Development 3, and later on there's another one, Web Development 4. We're going to designate both of them as heading 1. So here it is. And in the gallery, if I don't see heading 1, I'm going to open the gallery. But in this case, I can see it. So heading 1. And there's another one later on. Here it is, Web Development 4. Also a heading 1. Now it's already a document that has a title and 2 sections. It has a structure. That's what format is all about. Next. While one of them is selected, let's say the Web Development 4, we're going to change the font size to 20. And while it's still selected, we're going to add a bottom border to it. So let's say that I like the fact that it's a heading 1. I just don't like the way it looks. It's bigger than the title. I want it to be more, different. So we're going to change the font size. What does it say? To 20. If it's already 20, that's fine. It might not be 20 on your computer. Every computer has its own defaults. If it's already 20, I'm good with that. And I'm going to add like a bottom border to it. So it's going to add like a nice, underline. So let's do what it, like in the instructions. Web Development 4, it's already 20. Now, how do I add a bottom border? Right here in the paragraph group, there's a drop line for borders, and one of them is to add a bottom border, and it does something like this. Then, it shows you exactly where to get that. And while it's still selected, we're going to right-click on the little panel called Heading 1, thumbnail. We're going to select Update Heading 1 to match selection. Here's the deal. We just did one of our heading 1s, but the other one has not been updated. What if we had, 17 of them? So I'm going to highlight this one, go to heading 1, right-click. This is where, a mouse would be handy. And choose Update Heading 1 to match selection. It'll change all the other heading 1s to match what I just selected. And it just changed this one as well. Then it says select the 2 lines that say course description and the 2 lines that say learning outcomes and designate all 4 of them as heading 2. Not at the same time, just do it one at a time. So course description and learning outcomes, each one of them occurs twice, and each one of them will become a heading 2. Heading 2 simply means that it's a child of heading 1. So course description, I don't see heading 2 in my gallery. So I'll open the gallery, and here's heading 2. And course description, here's learning outcomes, also will become I don't need this, but I will open the gallery. Heading 2, and later on in the second half, there's also another course description, which will become a heading 2, and another learning outcomes, which will also become a learning 2. So overall, I got like 4 lines using or designated as heading 2. Save. Once I did that, the next instruction is while one of those, it doesn't matter, as we just saw, I'm going to change one of those and then apply the changes to all of them. While one of those heading 2s are selected, change its font to size 18 and its text color to purple. So I don't like what the heading 2s look like. I'm going to select one of them. I'm going to change its font size to 18 and its color to purple. And while still selected, right-click on heading 2, style thumbnail, and select Update Heading 1 to match selection. So just like we did before, I changed one of them. I changed the font size and the color. Then I'm going to find the thumbnail heading 2, right-click on it, and update heading 2 to match selection. And now all my heading 2s are 18 and purple. Don't forget to, I don't want to take this for granted, save. After everything that's not a mistake, I save. Back to the instructions. By the way, I see I'm reading the instructions from a Word file. You can read it off of your course shell in D2L. Doesn't matter where you get the instructions from, as long as the file itself is in Word, like the assignment itself. After the heading Learning Outcome, on the first page, press Enter to start a new line. And I want you to type, these outcomes are suggested by, and then you put your full name. Like, these outcomes are suggested by Joe Smith. I'm going to be lazy and copy it instead of typing it. And I'm going to go after Learning Outcomes, press Enter. Now, if I want to make sure that I'm pasting just the text and nothing else, I'm going to go to Paste and paste text, keep text only. Or you can just type it. Then, in the instructions, press space after the last letter of the email address. I forgot to say to add your email address. So let me do this. Press Enter. Add your email address. You can make up one if you don't want to reveal your real email address, as long as it's formatted correctly. Press Enter after the last letter in the email address, and that turns it into a link. So actually, it does say press. It's just not in the right place. Now we're good. Press Enter again, type your school email. After, whatever your last name is, let me make sure it looks good. Enter. Let's say my school email is jsmith@broward.edu. Yours is probably going to be at mail.broward.edu. And then it says press space one time and it turns it into a link. Yes. Next, save. Go over the entire document one at a time. All the lines that are bold, we're going to designate as heading 3. And there's 8 of them. So let's do it nice and slow. So it's bold. It'll become a heading 3. Now, if it's too much trouble for you to open the gallery all the time, you can open the styles pane and then they become more available here. Either way. Second one, heading 3. Third one, everywhere I made it easier for you to find them by bolding them in the original document. So instead of just a regular paragraph that's bold, they become a heading 3. Or in other words, now there's a real structure. There's a title, there's heading 1. Inside the heading 1, there's heading 2. And the heading 2s are divided into heading 3s. So I'm going to find all the bolded text. I think I found all of it. I'm going to go over. It's only 2 pages, so it's not that hard to find. And all the text that used to be bold is now heading 3. Save. While one of the heading 3s is selected, change its color to dark gray, its font size to 10, and make it bold. So gray, bold, and 10. I'm going to select, let's say, one of them, this one. I'm going to change its color to dark gray. You choose exactly which dark gray you want. I'm going to change its size to 10, and I'm going to make it bold. That's what I want my all my heading 3s to look like. So I'm going to find the thumbnail that says heading 3 in the gallery, right-click on it, and update heading 3s to match selection. And now all my heading 3s look that way. And if I think that my gray is too dark, I'll change it, but then I'll have to do the same update again. Heading 3, right-click, update. And now I updated all my heading 3s. For reference, now the top of the first page should look something like this. And it does. Again, exactly what shade of purple or shade of gray you use, I'm not going to be picky about that. Select the 3 lines under the first heading 3, backend and hosting, and make them a bullet list. Backend and hosting, 3 lines, select bullet list, which we'll discuss in class, of course. When do you use a bullet list? When do you use a numbered list? Right now, we're just talking about the mechanics of it. And the next thing we're going to do is change the icon of the bullet list to an arrow. It might appear on your bullet gallery, or you might have to click Define New Bullet to find it. Now, this really depends on whether you have a Mac, Windows, and if you've used it before, but it's pretty easily found. So, while this is selected, I'm going to go to the bullet list, open up the menu, and go, okay, it's not one of my recent ones, so define new bullet, and then it will show it probably as one of the suggested ones. If you don't see exactly this arrow, pick one that's the closest one to it. The whole idea of this step is to show you where to change the icon of the bullet. Save. Exactly which icon you use later on will be, like your own choice, as long as you change it to something that looks like an arrow. Next. By now, the top of the first page should look something like this. And it does, and this is the last change we made. Go over the whole document and select all the paragraphs that are under a heading 3 and make them a bullet list. Do it one group at a time. Don't try to do, all of it. So just like we did this one, I'm going to select these lines, make them a bullet list. If I see a heading 3, all the lines underneath it will become a bullet list. As you can tell, some of them are longer than one line, so it wraps to the next line, but it's still, everywhere there was a, someone hit enter, becomes a bullet list. So this is a heading 2, so this does not become a bullet list, but this is a heading 3, so it does. Everything under a heading 3, I want it to become a bullet list. So in other words, it's pretty much all the paragraphs other than the course descriptions. And this becomes a bullet list, and this becomes a bullet list. Save. So for reference, the first page should look something like this, where everything is, I actually forgot to do this one in the screenshot, but it will become a bullet list like everything. Then we're going to run a spelling check on the whole document. You might have noticed that there's like red squiggly lines that, that indicate questionable spelling. It's going to be in the review tab, and it's a command or a button called spelling and grammar. I can tell you that there's 6 words that are actually misspelled to fix. Don't fix the word cPanel if it comes up. Ignore all. Why? Because cPanel is a real word. It's a terminology in web design, but it might not be a part of Word's dictionary because it's not standard English. So if that word comes up, don't fix it. All the other words, fix, and there should be 6 of them. So I'm going to go back to this. There's no need to select anything. Maybe click in the beginning, then review, then spelling and grammar, and instead of the word content. Just choose whatever, seems to be the best replacement. Content. Instead of databases. Retrieve is spelled with the IE, incorrect. Then switch is missing the T. This window on Windows might appear like as a floating window in the middle, but its structure is going to be the same. It's got, things to choose from and ignore, and, there's going to be like maybe on Windows a button for selecting and changing rather than just clicking. Reuse I'm going to fix. JavaScript is spelled wrong because the S needs to be capitalized. And that's it. You have finished reviewing editor suggestion. In this case, it did not ask me about cPanel, so I'm good with it. Save. And the most important thing is that I don't see any squiggly lines, so there's nothing questionable. Next instruction. Position insertion point before the first heading 1, see Sen 43, and insert a table of content, which is found under the Reference tab, Table of Content. Use the first kind of table of content on the menu. It might have a different name on Mac or Windows, but I want you simply to use the first one available. Important, make sure the table of content is inserted between the title and the first heading 1. If it's inserted in the wrong place, undo and insert it again. From experience, I know that moving a table of content is kind of a hassle. It's easier to delete it or to undo and do it again. So how are we going to insert a table of content? This is one of the most helpful things that Word can do. I'm going to position my insertion point right here before the first heading 1, because that's exactly where I want the table of content to be. Under the title, but before the first heading 1. Then I'm going to go to the References tab. The very first command is Table of Content, and it's got all kinds of styles of table of content to choose from. I'm going to choose whatever is the first one on the menu. One click, that's it. And here it is. I got a table of content. How did it know to create a table of content? How did it know that this is a main section and this is a secondary and these are nested inside? Because we define them as heading 1, heading 2, heading 3. If I tried doing that about, like 10 steps ago, before they were designated as a structure, it was just tell me, sorry, I cannot build a table of content for you because you have no headings, so there's no structure. Now that there is a structure, it knows what page it's on and everything. Next step. So it should look something like this. Insert a page break before the heading Sen, and it should send it to the next page. Now, let's say the whole idea is that I see a table of contents, but I want the actual content to start on page 2. Now, inexperienced users are going to hit the return button a bunch of times to kind of, chase it down, but that's the wrong way of doing it. Redo. The correct way of doing it would be to place my mouse right before the heading 1, go to Layout, find the menu called Breaks, and do a page break. And that forces it to start on page 2, even if there's room on page 1, which means that table of contents can grow, and this would still be on page 2 without being, pushed further. Shows you exactly where to get that. Now the first page should have only the title and the table of contents. The first heading starts at the top of page 2. We just saw that. At the very end of the document, after the last bullet, make sure it's not a bullet itself by pressing enter twice. We're going to add the word conclusion, then press enter, and then all good. So, after the very last bullet list, I'm going to click enter once, enter twice, and then you can see that when I click enter once, it thinks it's another bullet, but if I enter twice, it knows that it's a regular paragraph. I'm going to write conclusion, all good, and I also want you to type completed on and then today's full date and exact time. So, for instance, all good. Let me copy that. Completed on October 21st, 2026. We can make up it doesn't have to be an exact date or time, as long as it's formatted like one. And again, if I want to paste, I'm not going to just hit paste. I'm going to go home and paste text only. Save. Then we're going to go back to the line that we called conclusion and designate it as heading 1, because it's, it's not part of any of the existing sections. It's a new section called conclusion, and it's going to be a heading 1. And it looks like all the other heading ones. Now, our problem is that our table of contents is out of date because we moved things to page 2 and we added another section and so on. So how do we make sure that our table of contents stays updated? Go back to the table of contents, one click on it to select it, and then update table, which is going to show up like a little tab on the top. When we click that little arrow on that little tab, the first option is going to be to update table. Then a dialog will come up where it will ask us if we want to update just the page numbers or the entire table. We want to update the entire table. Click on it. I can see this tab. This will show up exactly the same on Mac or Windows. Pull down the little menu, update table, update page numbers only. No, I want to update entire table. Okay, and look at how all the page numbers changed, but also it added the conclusion. This would have taken a lot of work back in the day, like doing it manually and, probably having a lot of mistakes. Save, exit Word, and submit this assignment to the assignment box by the due date. There's no step 37. And good luck. So if I save one last time, I can either exit out of Word, which of course on Windows you would do with the X that will appear here, top right corner. On Mac, I can exit the document on the top left corner, or on Mac, I can also go Word, exit Word. The important thing is that to submit, it doesn't have to be open. So I'm going to close it, and by now you probably know how to submit an assignment on D2L. Good luck.